Right.
And I think that's
Yeah,
recorded
it's starting to record.
Yeah, nice one, yeah. So I'm not sure like, how long this will record for, but we'll see what happens anyway. So yeah, obviously we had a little bit of a chat last night, didn't we, about just a few little things training-wise, and just maybe go over them today.
Yep.
To see if we can like shed some light on some of those points, I reckon.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah. So the first one, like I was thinking about, was blood flow restriction in regards to maybe people who can't train with heavy loads because obviously they're at home and they may have limited access to equipment. So what's your thoughts on that?
I think potentially it could work to an extent. I don't think it's something that I'd do if I had access to all the usual equipment. I think it's a little bit inferior.
Okay.
But I think if you set it upright, I think a lot of it's setting it upright as well. It's not just a case of wrapping something around your arm and doing your usual session. You've got to think it out and realise what you're actually doing. So I think one of the mistakes a lot of people make, obviously you want to keep the arterial blood flowing and restrict the venous blood. So if you do it too tight, it's not gonna work.
All right, okay. So for a layman, just like explain what you're saying there.
Right. So say you're gonna train a bicep curl.
Yeah.
We'll start with bicep curl. So you're gonna put some sort of tourniquet around your upper arm, aren't you?
Mm-hmm.
You don't want it too tight, so maybe like a 6 out of 10 pressure.
Yeah.
And you don't want it too thick either, because that can stop the arterial flow. So you want the blood going to your muscles, but it wants to be kind of not coming back as well as it usually does, which would be your veins.
Right, okay.
And then that's going to promote cell swelling, which potentially is giving a hypertrophy response to build muscle.
Yeah. As I said, I was looking at Squat University on Instagram, and one of his examples was he had a client who had recently undergone or was about to go have knee surgery. So for her, obviously, loading weight was sort of out of the question, and that was his solution for her, should I say, to still progress in some facet. So potentially, I think it could be a good plan for people with injuries as well that can't load weight.
Yeah, that's definitely the time I do it.
Yeah,
injuries. Yeah, that's a big one.
I'm most probably going to give it a go myself, to be honest with you. I haven't done it today, but I'm going to look into it properly. Obviously, as you said, you need to make sure that the parameters are correct before you're doing it, because otherwise you could actually potentially injure yourself in the process, or you might just not get anything out of it. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So the other one that I was going to ask you about was accommodating resistance. As you've seen, I've had a little go at it with the bands in the last couple of workouts that I've done at home, and I do feel like it's a really good stimulus. I mean, that band tension that I had with the deadlifts when I doubled over the purple band, that worked out at about 95 kilo top end, which is mental, really. And it did feel like an extra 95 kilo at the top as well. Yeah. So I don't know what your thoughts are on that, because I know you was on about doing a little bit of band assistance and band restrictive training yourself before obviously all of this sort of happened. So yes, I don't know what your thoughts on
it. During this period, I think it's good because you're getting you've got more resistance. Obviously, you don't have enough loading with a straight weight, so you're adding the bands to make enough resistance for it to be a hard exercise for you, which is going to be more beneficial. As far as it goes in day-to-day training, like in general, I think there is some useful aspects to it. I know when we're doing your cycle, you're using chains on bench and bands on bench at times.
Yeah.
Is it better than straight weight, not using any bands or chains? Probably not that different. I think a lot of it's a bit of a change, something different mentally, get you going again. I prefer to use it. If I was going to use it in general training, usually it'd probably be on more technical speed-based, kind of 80% range of the actual straight weight. And all I'd use it for is just to teach, to make sure, reinforce that you're pressing with, maximal force. Because obviously, if you don't, you're going to run into the band and chains. It's going to make it too hard to complete the lift.
Yeah.
So I think it's useful for that. But I think it's probably better for equipped lifters. Because most people have weakness in bottom end strength. So if you're stuck on your chest on a bench and you start adding a lot of resistance mid-range to lockout, you're using the same weight off your chest, you'll probably get the similar gains as you would using straight weight. You won't get any more benefit.
Yeah, I see what you're saying with that. Although, if you're able, so for example, say if you was to overload the weight, say if it was a bench press, and you was to overload the weight at the top end, would that not create some sort of response in general? So what I'm trying to say is, because you're overloading the weight, is your body not adapting to the stimulus anyway?
Possibly. I think if you took someone who trained with just regular weight versus someone who trained with, say, band tension plus weight, I think if the weight was the same off the chest, then you'd find after testing, the actual full range bench press might be similar. But the person who did a lot of the overload work at the top, if you tested them in a reduced range of movement, they'd probably be stronger than the other guy. Yeah. And obviously, if not everyone fails off the chest on a bench, some people it is mid-range.
So for them people, I suppose it would be beneficial.
It would be more beneficial, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think to be fair, I've noticed that myself as well. Not what you just said there, but I feel like from like midpoint to lockout, very strong. But then there's just that little sticking point about just under mid-range for me, I think, where it's most probably where I would fail. So would you say in that instance, it might be better to use blocks, like the bench block that I've got, with like, so obviously you're starting off at the point of maybe the weakest point of your lift, and you're working from that range of movement. Would you say that's maybe a good alternative to that?
Yeah, I'd say they're both worthwhile. We've added both in with your training.
Yeah.
A few people training, same thing. Like we've talked about before, I think when you're talking about weak areas of your lift as well, if you're doing a board press, just for the people who might not know, when you hit your sticking point, a lot of people kind of think, right, well, that's my sticking point there. I'm going to do a block. Say the bar stops 3 inches off your chest, right? I'm going to do a 3-inch board press to strengthen that weak point. Right. When really the bar's going to slow down before then. So your weak point's lower than where you're probably stopping.
Yeah. I think you've mentioned that before as well, to be fair, yeah. And that would make sense. By the time you are hitting your sticking point, you've most probably lost that acceleration.
Yeah.
That's interesting stuff, mate. Like, and obviously you've programmed quite a lot of it into my training, and from a bench press standpoint, obviously it's gone from like 145 to 180, which is pretty incredible over what we're saying, like 4 or 5 months.
Yeah.
For an intermediate to advanced lifter, that's pretty bloody good, I would say.
Considering you're not made to bench either, you've got a long range of movement.
No,
you're not a bench presser, are you? But
no, not really. But yeah, I appreciate the advice and whatnot.
I think people get a bit confused about it as well. Or not confused, but they see a lot of the West Side styles, the speed work.
Yeah.
So it's like they're generally 60-odd% straight weight plus bands or chains. Generally chains, I think, on a bench press, or bands as well. And they're using that as kind of it works for these guys. And taking out the geared v raw debate about the equipment, I think a lot of the reason in my opinion why it works is because it's working as a lighter recovery day rather than itself helping the lift, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying.
So they're getting some work in at lighter percentages, which is going to maybe help technique a little bit. They will
bit
get
of technique, yeah. Bit of blood
maybe
flow.
an improvement neurally slightly, bit of blood flow, and then they're doing the assistance work after, which will probably be heavy.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, and obviously, you know, looking at a person who just like your average lifter in comparison to, you know, the people at Westside, I mean, they're going balls to the wall, most probably geared up to the eyeballs, you know, like, so there's slightly different parameters for them guys as opposed to like your, let's say, your average gym rat.
Mhm.
And obviously not everything works for everybody. Like everybody has a slightly different sort of like stance on what works for them.
Definitely.
Yeah.
With athletes as well, though, that's going to be a big one. Like if you're training an athlete, then they don't have to decelerate, you know, during the end phase. If it was straight weight, your leverage will improve. You're doing any kind of press movement, you're going to have to decelerate quite a way before the end. Whereas
Yeah.
with a heavier chain on, you can keep pushing full force at a good speed closer
Exactly.
to the end point.
Yeah.
So it's going to be beneficial in that regard.
Yeah. And I suppose that would be the argument for doing, let's say, light, high repetition weight over heavier weight in general. Because obviously you want to get that stimulus, you want to get that neural drive. And if the resistance isn't there, then you're most probably going to not get a massive amount from it. And also you've got the potential for injury as well, for like maybe like locking out too hard, or do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
yeah. Was there any other points that you wanted to discuss other than the
Yeah.
mindset part? So we'll mostly go onto that towards the end, I reckon.
I see some, well, in general, some posts on Instagram generally about it comes up a lot, and I suppose it's somewhat important now, and it's like the building muscle, and then like what kind of rep speed are you doing? You know, like how fast are you moving the bar? Can
Yeah.
you purposefully move it slower, make it harder? So
Mm-hmm.
what a lot of people might be thinking now is, if they haven't got much weight, can they just do really slow repetitions with lighter weights to make it hard, so that they get benefits of building muscle from it? Like rather than pressing with full force, you might press just enough to lift the weight each time, which is going to make it hard. They're trying to make the movement harder, basically,
Yeah.
or feel hard. They're trying to make it feel harder,
Mm-hmm.
but it won't work
But it won't
like that.
work.
It will work.
Not
It'll
on the,
work.
not on the
The only
concentric phase anyway.
Yeah, on the contrary, trying to go like the only time that it's going to work is when the fatigue forced to go slow, and they're actually trying to move fast, but it's moving slow. That's the only time it's going to actually work.
What about on the eccentric phase? Say if there's a slight load and you contract hard, say it's a 5-second decline, is that going to provide any sort of
Yeah,
stimulus?
it may do. I'd say
Yeah.
controlled eccentric is beneficial, but then I'd always just go with a faster concentric. Generally, you're
Okay.
going to recruit high threshold motor units, which
Mm-hmm.
you need to be recruiting. They're responsible for firing your larger, stronger muscles, so you need them anyway.
Right.
And you need a slow contraction speed, which means heavy weight or light weight as you get to the end and you're fatigued and it's hard to get the weight moving. You know,
Yeah.
like after maybe 20 reps, it starts to slow down. That's where you're going to get the benefit, because you're putting more mechanical loading on the individual muscle fibers. That doesn't work if you're trying to do, say, extra slow press ups,
Yeah.
unless you're maybe going to fail.
So it's realistically, from a hypertrophy standpoint, it's all about taxing the muscle as much as you can.
You've got to just think slow, grindy reps, not purposeful. So, like, the reps are slow and grindy because the loading makes them so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Yeah, we'll go on to mindset then. So I think you had a few points when it came to mindset. Maybe we could discuss about what's going on at the moment, the importance of maybe having a structure at this point in time. I don't know what your thoughts on this.
Honestly, I hadn't thought about it too much for how it is at the moment. I don't. For me, I wouldn't give advice at the moment to people who are like, as a general kind of what to do at the moment. Maybe fitness wise, Yeah, exercising, that's going to help. I'd be spending more time reading and learning about like go over your training, go over how you're training, what exercise selection are you using, why are you selecting those exercises? Is it just because you've been doing it for a while? Why are you eating the way you are? Is it productive to what you want to achieve? Could you tweak it in any ways? Is there any supplements that you could add in that might make your health a bit better? Is there
Yeah,
else you can do? Any cardio that might help you improve performance? Just generally go over everything and try and rehash that kind of stuff.
yeah,
As far as training goes, unilateral training, working on routing and general mobility,
I
clear
agree.
niggles
Yeah,
up.
yeah, it's something that I need to focus on as well. Like just mobility wise, I've noticed since I've been training in a more strength facet, it's sort of gone out the window. I did say to myself today that I'd do a bit of mobility. I might do in the afternoon. It's not something that I particularly enjoy, to be honest with you, but I do
More of them.
understand. Yeah, I do understand the importance of it to some extent. Obviously, you don't want to be hypermobile, um, but you want to have that range of movement where you can actually get yourself under a bar and be able to grab hold of it. Um,
Yeah.
which is something that I've been struggling with, to be honest with you. That's why I did the safety squat bars the other day, where I did those makeshift ones with the tea towels. It was predominantly because I was impinged. The range of movement was terrible in my shoulder joint. So,
So
I
that's
think,
something that's going to help in it. You're focusing on mobility that's going to actually improve your performance because that's going to restrict you. It's going to improve your form if you can get more mobile.
and I suppose this is like the difference between just exercising and actually training for a purpose. Anybody can exercise. You can go for a run. You can go for a walk. You can lift an object up and down. But does it have a clearly defined goal to it? Is there an end point? Is it working towards something? That is a question that maybe some people should be asking themselves.
Definitely,
Um,
yeah.
so yeah, and obviously it's a bit of a tricky time at the moment. People who have been like training towards, maybe like a powerlifting meet or strongman competition, it's sort of all up in the air. But at the same time, it's, as you say, it's a good opportunity just to go over those finer points and actually evaluate whether your training system is conducive towards the goal that you're trying to achieve.
Yeah, or even if you think of a goal, if you don't have one, because a lot of people train kind of without much of a goal or without really thinking about, they'll maybe have a big end goal, but they won't be breaking it down into parts and they're maybe going to struggle to get there. So just thoughts about goal setting and things.
Yeah, yeah, I think it's important, very, very important. Um, any other points, mate? Like before we start wrapping up?
Not really. No, I think that's pretty good.
Yeah,
Um,
nice one.
yeah, yeah. I think the point about exercise and training is a good one. Like
Yeah,
at the moment, everyone's putting out a lot of people are putting out content for people who train at home, which is great. It's giving people ideas. I think it's important. I am doing a lot of it because it's not really my thing. I am really into um, exercise simply for calorie burning, and
no.
it's just a case of moving. There's so much you can do. There's so much out there. There's so much content that it's totally different in my opinion to actually training.
It is for me as well. In the past, I'm like, obviously when I was away traveling, it was sort of a means to an end for me when I was doing all of these like weird and wonderful exercises. I think predominantly it was just to keep my just for my mental health more than anything else, I would say.
Hmm.
But now, sort of, it's changed a little bit for me. I am focused on what I want to achieve, and so like these things are maybe not as interesting to me anymore. But I'm quite lucky in the respect that I've got quite a lot of weight at home, so I can still, to some extent, progress towards that thing that I'm trying to achieve.
Yeah, I think what you're doing is pretty good as well. I'd say if people are looking at what you're doing, the exercises and stuff, it'd be worth doing, because you're doing some exercises that people might not think of. If you've got a little bit of loading, if you've got a bit of equipment, the stuff you're doing is probably going to work better than what most people might think of. I think there's some really good ideas.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of time it is just about thinking out, using those pieces of knowledge that we have, and then from there being creative with that, and coming up with useful exercises rather than just like, I don't know, do a squat with a do an air squat. I ain't gonna say. Yeah. Do an
I know what you mean.
Yeah. Also, before we wrap up, I'm just gonna put it out here. Basically, what I'm gonna do to contribute towards the eradication of coronavirus, I've got all these Tech Power t-shirts. Don't know if you can see on there.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've got a load of these.
Baby blue, it's a nice colour. That
baby blue.
I like that.
They're like a Wiccan style t-shirt, and basically it'll be up on my website anyway. All the proceeds that I get from it, I'm gonna donate towards research towards the coronavirus. So that's just like my little bit of contribution towards it.
Good stuff.
Yeah, nice one.
Yeah, my contribution is nothing at the moment. Thanks for putting that in, mate.
We'll have a think. We'll have a think. Yeah, you just stay safe, mate. That's the main one, isn't it? Stay safe.
That's it.
Stay in your house. Don't leave the house. I got
hiding up in the loft, away from the kids.
That's just for your own peace of mind, mate.
Right.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant, mate. That's some really good content. I mean, if we keep doing these and we keep coming up with ideas, hopefully it'll help a few people out in the process.
Yeah, if anyone's got any questions they want to ask, fire away. We'll try and answer them.
Exactly.
Gives us something to talk about.
That's what I mean. Gives us like a little bit of what's the word? Like, yeah, it gives us something to do, doesn't it? I guess.
Yeah.
You know, that's what that's at the end of the day, as a coach, that's what we're here for. To part with.
Exactly. We're putting these out to try and help people with the training, basically, and give them ideas. That's what it's for. So if you've got any questions, please ask.
Bob on that, mate. Yeah, appreciate your time. Obviously, I'll be in touch with you pretty soon. Anyway, send you over this video, and then you can just post it upon your social media at any point.
Sound
nice one, right?
Right.
I'll leave you to it. Thanks for your time.
Right. You too, mate. Catch you later, bud.
Take care. See you in a bit.
Bye.